What's going on, guys? I tonight I just wrote a bunch of stuff down. I really wanted to go live, but I don't know. I used to do it. I don't feel comfortable doing it anymore. I don't know why that is, but I really would have rather went live and talked about these things. But first thing I want to do is give a shout out to. He calls himself Lucky Haskins. Lucky Haskins. Lucky spelled exactly like it would be in Haskins. Go over there, tell that old man Watachi sent you, and you want to hear what he's got to say, because he's got a lot of good things to say, folks. All of us do. All of us do. Don't ever think that just because you don't like something somebody said at one time that they have nothing left to say. Because everybody's got something to say. Everybody has experienced something in their life that you have not. And the only way you can know how that experience was to hear the people that talk about it. So go over there to Lucky Haskins, and what I want you to tell him is say, let me see, the 80s rocked and rolled, Lucky. Watachi says the 80s, no doubt, was rock and roll. The 80s was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You can't leave none of that shit out. You can't. If you leave sex and drugs out of it, the rock and roll didn't matter. I lived through it too. That just added to it. But actually, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll went back to the 60s and 70s. It just spilled over into the 80s, but it was still rocking. I was still, oh yeah, by 82 or 83 was when I got out of the Army and went to Florida, and that was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I was the poster child, I think, because I'm telling you what, I was doing it all. I moved to West Palm Beach just because of one thing, folks. I was 45 minutes away from Fort Lauderdale and about an hour and maybe 5 or 10 minutes from Miami Beach. I was 20 years old. Drinking age was 19 or 18 or something like that. I was 20. And when spring break rolled around, I quit my job. If I had a job, I done had some money and shit. I quit my job and I went straight to the Miami or Fort Lauderdale for spring break. I did do that. And I partied. I'm telling you what, you guys think partying. You guys don't even know what. We had a lot more freedoms back then than you guys got today. So, Lucky, I'm telling you. I know the 80s rocked, but they didn't rock like the 60s and 70s. Hell no. I didn't rock in the 60s, but I would say most of the 70s I did. Shit, my first concert was Ted Nugent, Cat Scratch Fever. My next one was AC/DC Highway to Hell, and that's exactly what I was on. And I back in black. I was in Van Halen, flirting with the devil. All that Molly Hatchet people. I was all in. I I had a stereo system that was blaring that shit, blaring it. We'll see how many of these things I get through. That was just a shout out. Lucky, love you, brother. Uh, you guys, you got a lot of you. I'm not saying you guys. Come on, you guys know on my videos. I got to do my videos like I'm talking to everybody. I'm not just talking to those of you that watch my videos. And in some cases, I might be, but most of the time, I'm not even talking to you guys. I already know you guys. There's only four of you. It's not hard to know you when you only got four views and anywhere from 10 to 108 or 16 or something. I don't know what my biggest channel has anymore. I think it's 116 or 120. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's see. But I want to ask you. You know, you guys always claim that the Constitution is still in place. I keep telling you it isn't. You're under what they call maritime admiralty law. Maritime/admiralty law. It is actually law of the sea. It's not law of the land. It's law of the sea. This is how they remove your human rights and make you a corporation. Now you're a citizen. You're no longer a human. You're a citizen. This is all legalese, folks. That's all it is. It's all legalese. And this is why I say you guys don't know what the laws say unless you understand what the definitions are. People have asked me, how? Because I make claims that I haven't filed income taxes in almost 20 years. It's got to be like 19, 20 years now, folks. And I was working for the United States Post Office, driving their semi, making, in some cases, almost $30 an hour 10 years ago. I think maybe more than 10. I don't even know. Oh, man, shit. I can't keep up with all this shit. You guys don't even know how much shit I've forgotten. You guys ask me how you do it. Okay, first thing I did, I had somebody file that I was driving a truck for. He filed that I owned the truck, that he paid me personally every dime that truck made without any gas expenses. The entire time I was in his truck, he added it up. And he said that's how much he paid me. He told the federal government that. The federal government came at me telling me, they came at me going, man, you owe us a lot of money in income tax. I said, what the hell are you talking about? They told me, well, this guy filed on you saying he paid you $25,000 or $28,000 or something like that in 2 or 3 weeks, folks. That's how much money he paid me. And I'm like, did you get any proof that he gave me that money? Did he have any checks that I've signed on the back or anything? And they said, that's not our problem. This is the federal income motherfuckers. This is what they're telling me. I go, what do you mean that's not your problem? I said, you got a guy filing false information to you, and that's not your problem? And they go, no, it's not our problem. It's now your problem. Because we say you owe us $17,000 or something. I don't know what the amount was, folks. I didn't give a shit. I told them, well, come and get it. I told them I'll never pay you. I will not, and I haven't paid them what that clown said I owed them. I told these people on recording, I had it notarized, all kinds of shit. I told them, I said, that man is a liar. And I showed them what he actually paid me. They didn't give a shit, folks. That federal IRS did not care. They started threatening me. That's not a thing to do, especially when you're like I used to be. Well, it wouldn't make no difference. Even today, threatening me ain't gonna work. It never has. So these people started threatening, oh, we're coming up, we're going to take it. I said, I tell you what, United States federal government said the only way I can know that this is right, that I owe you this money, and if I owe you this money, and the law states that I owe you this money, and I read the law and understand the law, to that I will pay you that money. Now all you got to do is give me a copy of the law. And I also filled in, because I know about legalese, I said, and when you give me a copy of the law, I want the definitions to the words that are in it. People, this involves 70,000 pages. The United States government, nor the IRS, nor the Federal Reserve, nor anybody, the Congress, the Senate, the President, nor anybody in Washington, D.C. will give you a copy of your federal income tax laws, not combined with the definitions. They will not do it. I fought them over it. They would send me, folks, paragraphs or pages, copies of paragraphs or pages. I said, nope, that ain't good enough for me. I need the entire law so I can read it. And the only way I can read it and understand it is if it has the code book that goes with it. And that's exactly what they call it, folks. The government calls it a code book. The IRS code book. The IRC. The IRC. Anything that's written that is legal and binding in a court has legalese in it, folks. Anything. If it's not legal and binding in a court, it has no standing. If you don't understand the legalese in it, like your driver's license, your social security card, your birth certificates, your marriage licenses, all man law things. If you don't understand the jurisdiction of those things, you don't even know what you're agreeing to. But this is just one old man talking with old man shit in his head. Anyway, nowhere in the Constitution, folks, I want to tell you, the Creator was the one that they said gives you all your rights. The Creator. Inalienable rights. Well, Let me ask you, where in your democracy, your demonocracy, does it mention anything other than a minority rule? It don't mention God. It don't mention no creator. It's minority rule. And it can only be minority rule because half the people in this country don't even play in your fake elections. We don't play in your fake pandemics either. So, when you got only half the people voting and only 51% of half the people vote, that's a minority rule demonocracy, and it's ran out of Washington, D.C. How can I draw you any better of a picture than that? Let me mark some stuff off here, folks, because I'm old. By the way, I already got that one done too. Let's see. I'm gonna put this one in here real quick, you guys. Don't tell nobody. If YouTube finds out, they're gonna delete this channel. I only have one strike left. I did my own poll on cotton candy. Those of you that watch me, you know what I'm talking about. I did my own poll on cotton candy. About 3 people that ate the candy, 1 person who didn't. One of them died that took it. Within hours that ate the candy, died. My next door neighbor. On the other side of me, an older guy, he ate the candy. He now has nerve problems and shit. He can't even hold stuff with his hands and stuff. The third guy that ate the candy, across the street from me, has been disabled since he had a bad accident back when he was like 18, 19. He's in his 50s. We don't know if it's done anything to him or not. We don't even know. He just runs over, and anything they tell him to take, he just takes it. So, but he walks fun. He's disabled, folks. So we don't know if it's done. It ain't killed him. One person out of the 4 that did not play the game. Me. I'm the same. I'm the same. Never had COVID. 60 years old. Heart problems, lung problems. I'm one of the first ones that should have been dead. Never wore a mask. Still haven't. And will not wear a mask. I'm one of them that's supposed to be dead already. My wife and daughter both have jobs. They were forced to be tested when they got sick. They, at the exact same time, had quote unquote COVID. And I was the one taking care of them. They were home. That was back when they had to be home for 2 weeks. I was laying right next to my wife, had COVID, according to the doctors. Watachi didn't get it. Watachi don't believe in it. Watachi knows it's bullshit. Now, let's get off that subject before YouTube narrows in on me. Anyway, Let me mark that off. If you guys, if you go back, now I know some of you, you were babies back then, I guess, 2006. There was a movie, a series, not a movie, I'm sorry, folks. It was a TV series called Jericho. It didn't have nothing to do with the Bible, folks. That's not what this is about. But it ran from about 2006 to 2008. It was a Yellowstone, not as big, obviously, because it only ran for a couple of years. But it was just like a Yellowstone. And it was popular. That show was about nukes hitting a bunch of cities in America, taking out the power grid and all this shit, and the people that had to survive after that. Where they start as a small Kansas town after the nukes took out many cities. Now, that's what never made no sense to me, because I grew up in the Cold War, and in Jericho there was like 9 or 20 nukes that hit the United States alone, and people were still alive. Well, either they were lying to us then about nukes and what they were capable of, or they're lying to us today. But that show, folks, that show, I see that closer. I see that being closer to what's coming than anything else. All your damn zombies and all this shit. No, I don't see all that shit. We already got a bunch of walking brain dead zombies today. They're all public school educated and college educated. They don't even know what their government's doing to them. They have no clue. And they'll fight for one or the other side. That's a joke. People, the best thing I can tell you, God loves you. Jesus loves you. And I love you. And me loving you don't really matter. But God and Jesus loves you. And if you haven't found Jesus' path, if you haven't found him, you will never find the Father. So, I wish I could go deeper into this, but it's too long already. And maybe I'll do another video on getting deeper into this. Because people, you're not going to be able to stand your ground. When you're like me, I'm sitting right here. I'm halfway between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. These two cities ain't like New York and Chicago or anything like that. But if there ain't going to be no sunburst that takes down the power grid, folks, if the power grid goes down, it'll be because the government took it down, or some government official took it down. There ain't all that sunburst crap, and you guys will believe anything. But when that power grid goes down, they say 9 out of 10 people will be dead in 3 months. Let's say they're off by 3, give or take. God loves you. So do I. Till the next one.